Therefore it says, wake up, sleeper. Get up from the dead. Christ will shine on you. So be careful to live your life wisely, not foolishly. Take advantage of every opportunity because these are evil times. Because of this, don't be ignorant, but understand the Lord's will. Saints of God, my eyes have seen the glory and the coming of the Lord. He's trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. I see him in the watchfires of 100 circling camps. They have builded him an altar in the evening doing dance. I can read his righteous sentence by the dim and flaring lamp. His day is marching on.
Hello, welcome to Conversation with Faith Leaders. My name is Brandon A.A.J. Davis, founder of Content Writing Service and Conversation with Faith Leaders. And I'm excited to be with you yet again to have another conversation. And today I have with me someone whom I have admired. He's a friend. He is a brother beloved. He is a colleague. He is an inspiration to me. Those of you who know me know that I am a proud alum of Allen University in Columbia, South Carolina. And when I arrived on the campus of Allen University in 2003, one of the first faces I found and got to know was then Mr. Aaron Bishop. Mr. Bishop was the director of admissions. He was the recruiter for the university. He was Mr. Omega himself. He was Mr. GQ. He was the fashion guru. He was the person we went to when we need to find out where do we go to have fun, where was the happening party and event, where could we safely enjoy ourselves in the city. The man taught me how to tie a bow tie, taught me how to put on a suit, taught me, what to wear, hey, get you a navy blazer, some cream colored khaki pants, put you on some loafers. This was the guy who came to your dorm and was like, hey, checked in with your professors. They said your butt ain't been in school. Get up out this room and get to class. I am happy to have with me Mr. Aaron Bishop, the man, the servant, the pastor, the community leader. Mr. Bishop, Pastor Bishop, Councilman Bishop, Commissioner Bishop, he got it all. He's my friend. He's my brother. Welcome to the show.
Good. God bless you and good God Almighty, man. Who were you just talking about? I have no idea who was introduced.
Man, listen, I got the man himself. Anybody who knows me know I love to talk about Allen University. And, just like high school, when we graduated, you was like, man, the end of an era has come. But when I got to college, I had no idea what I was getting what I was getting into. And you were one of the best people that ever happened to me at Allen University, Doc.
Well, God bless you, bro. And to my Allen University family, I still know the opening line of the alma mater. I love
yes,
you. We lift our heart.
And voices.
Yes, sir.
Yes, to thee. Life choices gifts we bring. And ever as we leave, thy holy walls so steeped in glory. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, what a blessing, dog. Bishop, I know you've had a full day today, man. I want to say thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with me today. I really appreciate it.
Man, listen, It is my honor and my pleasure to be with you, my brother, because what people don't know is this conversation that we're having happens all the time. You know, we've always been a phone call away. And as you stated, I have been somewhat of an inspiration to you. What people don't know, you went into ministry before me, and you helped inspire me to play my role as a man of the cloth or a man of God. And Dr. Davis, I appreciate you. Hopefully in a matter of 3 months, I can join the ranks with you.
Come on with it, Bishop. Come on with it. Listen, folks, like I said, the connection between Pastor Bishop and I is a storied connection. And I'm grateful to have met his mother, his father, who was the founder of Grace Christian Church in Columbia, South Carolina. His mother carried on the ministry after the passing of his father. And before she went on to glory, he accepted his call into ministry. And whatever role I was able to play, I was just excited that you accepted your call, and that you have stepped up to the plate, not only to take over your father's ministry, but you are the bona fide pastor of Grace Christian Church, and you have taken it to a deeper level of ministry within the city. Man, you are, as T.D. Jakes once said, you are pastoring your city.
Amen. Well, you know, I can't do it without people like you, brother, because teamwork makes the dream work. And not only that, between the both of us, we are the Alpha and the Omega.
Yes, sir. You got it. Bishop, I'm not going to belabor the moment. I want to get in with our first question. Tell us about your ministry formation and how you engaged doing ministry in the city of Columbia, South Carolina.
Well, as you stated earlier, and to everyone who's tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, prayerfully, this becomes something that is edifying to you and your roles and responsibilities to lift as you climb. My mother and my father, as mentioned, since the inception of Grace Christian Church, was very active in not only the spiritual awareness of being able to make disciples, but also they were socially conscious in delivering difficult conversations about the societal ills that happen in our community. So the inception of our ministry was birthed in somewhat of a partnership with the African Methodist Episcopal Church, where my dad served as a pastor in the 7th District. And he knew that he didn't just want to birth a church, he wanted to birth a ministry. Because people are not looking for church because churches are on every corner. People are looking for ministry. And the ministry that they provided started from a crisis management mode where a young man was murdered in a housing project. And they asked my mother and my father to come and do a prayer breakfast to heal the community. But the truth is, yes, we can pray for healing, but the healing sometimes requires hands-on and face-to-face engagement, or just helping to heal the wounds through practical approaches, mental health counseling. And so my mother and father created this holistic ministry. When the baton was passed to me, I was doing a Bible study one night, and the book of Proverbs, I think the 29th and 27th verse says, when the wicked occupy the seat of government, the people perish. But when the righteous occupy the seat of government, the people rejoice. And that's when I entered into my other responsibility to be a civic leader, to be not only a pastor and a faith leader, but to sit at the table and help make the decisions that affect or impact our community. So yes, today I sit here as a chairman of a Richland County School Board, here at Richland School District 1, where I serve in the capacity to make sure that all children matter. If you've never read or heard about a story of the Messiah tribe, it talks about the community, and I'm getting back to the answer, the community and the ministry of the adults and the children. Instead of saying hello or hi to each other, they ask a critical question, Dr. Davis. They say, how are the children? And the response is, all the children are well, which means if the children are well, then society's well. And so my heartbeat is after what Frederick Douglass said, it's better to build up children than to repair broken men. It didn't say you can't do both. It just says that one needs to be in front of the other. So that's what I'm here to do with the formation of my ministry here in Columbia, South Carolina. If it takes a village to raise a child, imagine what it takes to repair one.
Wow. Wow. Bishop, man, you already off the jump hitting us good. I love that, man. That was rich. That was absolutely rich. Bishop, let me recognize Mrs. Wilhelmina Broughton. She is watching us. She is on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. She is watching us. My humanities professor at Allen University. What a blessing.
Yeah.
As a civic leader, what is your response to the lack of clergy leaders taking part in the real work of community engagement? And let me just add to that, you and I both have experienced how persons felt like, oh, let the politicians do that. That's for the politicians. But as Black people, we know that the engagement of social change, civil rights, any form of justice, it started in the Black church.
Yes.
So what is your response to clergy people who just run away from it, who just don't see that there's a responsibility that the preacher is supposed to have in real community engagement?
Well, I'm going to tell you, coming up in the community of Columbia, South Carolina. Oh, yes, that's right. The village is here. Coming up in the community of Columbia, South Carolina, I knew what the village concept was. And that village meant that I could walk across the street upon my mother's request and ask for a cup of sugar or maybe a stick of butter, to make that pound cake that I wanted. And because of that shared responsibility of everyone being parents to everyone's child, you had neighbors. And my challenge today is, as a church, are you a neighbor? Are you a neighbor if we are still a community? Because what I said earlier is that people don't want to see another church. They want to see more ministries. So to answer your question as a civic leader, my response to all clergy is be a neighbor. Don't let the separation of church and state separate us from the love of God. The love of God is for the love of man and your neighbor. Even Jesus says in his challenge, love me as you love your neighbor, love your neighbor as you love me. And when I look at what we are doing in the wake of so much that is going on besides just COVID, there is something called a social emotional loss that is going on in our society. And with the loss, there's an uptick or a rise of a virus called anger. Anger is everywhere, where people are getting mad just for the smallest issue. And so in my PhD study, I was asking, where was that sweet spot at our meeting place? Because I think we need to get over the notion that there is a separation between church and state. It needs to be inclusion, because somehow the moral compass is gone. When I look at even the civil rights movement that you mentioned, there's a famous picture of Reverend Jesse Jackson, Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend Ralph Abernathy, and all these men are on the balcony right before Martin Luther King is about to be assassinated. And his picture is doctored, or it's been photoshopped, where all of them have these Greek letter associations. And I believe there was more than just their Greek letter association. There was their communities, there were their networks, there were their friends who was attached to their leadership. And so my dissertation is talking about how do we get all of these organizations to come sit at the table? Because when I look at the shaping or the molding or the framework of the public-private partnerships that are happening in our community, when we build each other or come together, we can provide something called equitable leadership or equity to those who are the least of us. So one quote says, is the tide that rises all boats, right? And so when we look at what we can do to provide so much to our community, I think we have to definitely make sure there's a handshake or agreement between civic leadership and clergy leadership.
I agree 100%. You know, one of the dangers that I think that has happened, and I alluded to this in my sermon this morning. I preached this morning, finding faith on the edge.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that I have discovered, and you said it well, is that there has to be a coming together between the state and the church. Because one of the dangerous things that I saw happening when COVID-19 became our new reality is that people dismiss the church as non-essential. And me and my sister Tina, we go back and forth on this conversation. She says when the world needed the church the most, the church shut down. We closed our doors, and in essence, we did. Major facilities, churches with facilities, could have easily served as schools for children in impoverished communities and neighborhoods who didn't have access to Wi-Fi internet. There could have been, free lunches provided in those hard-hit areas. I mean, there's a lot of things the church could have done, but there was also a lot of churches that was out there doing the work. There was churches who was out there providing vaccinations, churches providing information, providing safe havens. And so we talk a lot about how, church and state is separate, but I agree 100%. There needs to be a coming together where we can have, a unified presence in the community. Folks need to see politicians not just showing up when it's election time. And I'm just one of those traditional preachers where if you're not doing anything for my congregation, I'm not letting you in my pulpit. If I only see you at election time to come get the black vote, I'm not letting you in my pulpit. You can say your speech on the floor. And thank God for these laws, because being a member of Allen Temple in Cincinnati, a lot of politicians come to the church because it's a staple of Cincinnati. That church is known in Cincinnati. But Pastor Allen lets you know, with a quickness, hey, we can't endorse you. But if we know you, we don't have a problem letting you speak. So yeah, Bishop, you're absolutely correct. There needs to be a connection between church and state. Let me ask you this question before we go to a quick commercial break. What are some of the ways you see leadership and ministry changing post COVID-19? Is there a change, or do you think we're just going to stay the same?
So let me tell you what my wife once said to answer that, but let me segue first. Your last question, I omitted what I thought could be a very relevant response. And sorry, I'm a little edgy. I'm not that holy. I'm maybe like 87%.
I love it.
So there's about 13% street to me. But there's a quote of a lyrical rapper that says, "If you're scared, say you're scared."
Yes, sir.
And God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. And so what I'm saying in response to question number 2 as well is, this is not the time to be scared to do what is right, what is courageous. And although, yes, not only did the church shut down, but the schools shut down, businesses shut down, the world shut down, the airport shut down, okay? And so we still found a way to keep leadership into leadership, though. Although everything shut down, we still found a way to make leadership be leadership. And leadership needs to be resilient. Amen. Mm-hmm. And resilient means that no matter how difficult it is, you have to find a way. So when you ask question number 3, what are some ways you see leadership and ministry changing post-COVID? This is the new normal. When I say the new normal, as an elected official, I am privy to several presentations about the health of society. We may know the health of the church as pastors, but you need to also know the health of your society. The health of our society is under something called long COVID. When I speak about long COVID, we haven't seen even the iceberg of its impact as COVID-19. We're looking at something probably in the next 10 to 20 years where there'll be several mental health challenges that'll be throughout our community because people were stuck at home for a long time, not knowing how to talk to people, not knowing how to survive. Look at how many children are impacted by divorce rates because of COVID, because people weren't used to being around their spouse that long. Look at the abuse that took place because children were trapped at home. All right. And we're not just talking about physical abuse, but even verbal and mental abuse. Long COVID is real. And so, what I'm telling leadership and people who are leading ministry to do is prepare for the long haul. Ecclesiastes 9th chapter starts off with a quote that says, very similar to what the world says, the race is not won by the swift nor the strong, but it goes down to the last part of that verse, that every chance and time is afforded to us all equally. Well, the truth is that equality and equity is two different concepts. We know that everyone has an equal opportunity to breathe and live and talk. The challenge is, what does equity look like? So as a church, it's time for us to look at what is the equitable opportunities for those who have been impacted the most because of COVID-19. I know you say you got to go to a commercial, so I'll pause right there because I can keep going on and on about this, Dr. Davis.
We're gonna come right back, Bishop, in just 60 seconds. We're gonna come right back.
All right.
Praise him with a violin.
Welcome. I'm Alphonse Allen, the senior pastor of Allen Temple AME Church.
And I'm personal injury attorney Blake Maislin, partnering together to bring you the Allen Temple broadcast.
Every Sunday morning at 11:30 on Star 64. We're reaching the city one soul at a time.
And now we're inviting you to join us.
Every Sunday morning at 11:30 on Star 64.
And we back with Pastor Ann Bishop, who is the pastor of Grace Christian Church in Columbia, South Carolina. He's also a commissioner. He is the chairman of the school board for Richland 1. And we're talking about doing ministry and leadership, serving your community post COVID-19. Bishop, before you finish, I want to highlight the resident nurse is my first lady. She is on. She's a faithful watcher of Conversation with Faith Leaders. First Lady Francietta Nadine Allen. That's my other mother. She said ministry leadership should absolutely change. This virus has exposed several things in the community, including division and the wider margin of those that have and those that don't have. Bishop, can you touch on that? Because I know you spoke earlier in the month about, you've been to all of your schools in your school district already?
Oh, yes, sir. I've been making my rounds. I can't say all of them, but you're talking about 53 schools. But all of the schools in my footprint, which is district seat number 2, I have been in all of those schools. And let me tell you, in the book called The Leadership Challenge, it says you must model the way. And so I knew that a lot of our teachers were dealing with anxiety. You got to understand, when we reopened the schools, because the leadership of the state of South Carolina said it was a necessity, and I get it. There were children who weren't learning because they didn't have access to broadband, internet, okay? There were children who were starving because a lot of our children, due to our poverty rate, are depending on the meal at the schoolhouse because there's no meals at home. And so when we had to make the difficult decision to put them back in school, we also challenged that same level of leadership and said that regardless of what you said, that we cannot have a mask mandate, we're going to take care of our children and our staff and have a mask mandate. So to the book called Leadership Challenge, the first most exemplary practice of a leader is modeling the way. You must model the way so that you can inspire other people to engage their responsibilities. And so when I began to go into the schools, I was letting them know, hey, you're not alone. And so we got to understand that community and that village concept lets people know they're not in this battle alone. And I gotta give this quote by the Hawkins family. I love Walter Hawkins and those songs he used to sing. But his sister said, "Don't wait till the battle is over. Shout
Yes,
now."
sir.
when
Yes, sir.
we just don't talk about it and we be about it, that's when people will love to see our leadership do more. Because there are gaps, according to you're right, Nurse Allen. There are gaps everywhere. Leadership gaps, digital gaps, social gaps, mental gaps, emotional gaps, relational gaps. Gaps are everywhere. And we got to be the bridge over troubled waters. We have to get over the chasm of the deep that is set before us by providing the equitable leadership that matters. And it's just not equitable leadership, Dr. Davis. It's something called transformational leadership.
Talk about it.
Transformational leadership is not how life treats you, but it's how you treat life back. When you are given lemons, you must make a lemonade stand and become a lemonade franchise owner, because it's not just not enough to make a cup of lemonade. That's not transformational. Transformational leadership is transforming so much that it doesn't look like what it did before. We are not going to be able to go back to the norm. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to engage this new norm and find a way, just find a way through resilience and transformational leadership.
Bishop, you preaching good, man. I don't know if you had an extra couple Wheaties. I don't know what's going on, but Bishop, you doing your good preaching today.
I tell you what happened, Dr. Davis. I always do this when I'm on some type of broadcast. My wife kissed me this morning. That's all I need.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bishop, I'm trying to grow up, man, trying to find me, what I'm saying, that gift from God. I got it. I don't know where she is. She usually is watching. She must be outside. I don't know. But I'm trying to make that journey with you, Bishop. My dad told me, he said, "Yes, son, it's time for you to grow up. Grown men get married." That's what my dad said. Grown men get married.
Come on up a little higher.
Yes, sir. Bishop, I want to rephrase. I know I sent you the question, but I want to rephrase the question because you've already touched on it there just a few minutes ago. But I want to rephrase question number 4. I still want you to touch on this question, specifically speaking. Has it been difficult as a civic community leader and a pastor to function within this pandemic? But I want to talk. I want to hear you talk about. Are you guys? And when I refer to you guys, I'm referring to South Carolina. Are you preparing for municipal elections, or are you like the other states putting things on a hold because of COVID?
No, sir. We are actively. And Brandon, my church has always been civically conscious.
Yes, sir.
Strongly aware of every election. We can often be known as a political stump. But yeah, we're going to hold those type of leaders accountable, because my members know that even as I'm their pastor, I'm also their chairman of their school board. So after I preach a good sermon and it get, the spirit stirred up, they walk right up to me in the lobby, the foyer, or maybe on the front porch of the church, and say, "Now tell me about this with the school district." And so immediately I had to switch and deal with my civic responsibility. I want to tell you just a practical testimony of what that looks like. Now, I know my circle of influence. I know my impact of my leadership. And it's just not to my church. I'm not just making my church members awarded the opportunity of my leadership. So last Thanksgiving during COVID, there was this big thing in the culture world called verses. And I knew that the church wasn't able to do as much as it used to feed those in need. So me and my wife did a versus battle over gospel music. And we literally did fundraising and friend raising to buy, I think we bought 400 turkeys from the community effort because what leadership afforded or awarded the community. And not only that, we bought turkeys and a whole meal and beverages included. Gave away also Walmart gift cards and stuff like that. So I think if you look at my role, I may be one in all, buy one, get one free. I don't know why I said that, but I'm not bought at all. But I believe that public-private partnerships, clergy and civic leaders can come together and do things just like that to make
sure
no one is lost, no one is without. And that is something we can do during this pandemic. We did things just as simple as setting up in our parking lot and getting with business leaders and telling them to help us find masks when people didn't have masks, help us find hand sanitizer when there was no hand sanitizer, and we gave it out to the community. Y'all, we are a pillar of the community as a church, but the ministry has to come out of the four walls and get into the parking lot.
Yes, sir.
There's two things I'll share with you, and then I'll be quiet because you probably have more questions. But I went to a church development conference, and this was during the normal state of church. This was years ago. And I have a 20,000 square foot church building. And the guy asked me, "Hey, man, how big is your building?" I said, 20,000 square feet. He said, "Wow, well, what are you doing there?" I'm thinking church-minded. I said, "I have church on Sunday and Bible study during the midweek." He said, "You're out of line. You're not a steward over what God has given you." I'm like, "Man, who is this guy? He said, "Find the societal ill or the issue that is impacting your community in the most adverse way and open up your doors of the church so that people may get the things they need." And I did. My issue was South Carolina's highest teen pregnancy rate, right in my community. And they were children raising children. And me and my wife started an academy, and we have a 4K program where people are able to give their kids a foundational education and also get themselves employed to take care of their families. Wow, man. What a blessing.
You know, Bishop, that's the kind of stuff. And you know what? It's sad that some people will consider that kind of ministry edgy. But I think we are beyond the sentimentality of niceties. You know, if you're going to save the young man and young woman that's in the streets, well, you're going to have to address the issues that they're having. I said to a non-AMEer who commented on a good friend of mine, Dr. Richard Allen Turner, Robert Turner, who was a classmate of mine in the DBN program at United Theological Seminary. He was pastoring Historic Vernon AME Church in Tulsa. Brought national attention to his work at that church because it's the only building that survived the bombing on Black Wall Street. And now he's the new pastor of Empowerment Temple in Baltimore. And I said to someone, they said, "Well, why would the bishop move him to that church when he was doing such great work where he was?" True, doing great work, meeting the needs. I said, but there's also other needs that needs to be done. And when you have someone who can do the job, you want to put that person in the best qualified position. And no doubt he's going to find something in Baltimore City that is happening around Empowerment Temple, and he's going to bring attention to it. And one of those things is gun violence. There's no point of going into a community and addressing the non-existent problem. The problem for the preacher is to address the existing problem. If you're going to save young girls and provide them with the way out of their life situation, then you got to provide some ministry that's going to do that. I'm so glad I know you and Jennifer, and I know what you are doing at Grace Christian Church. I've been off my game. I used to send a letter every year for your past anniversary, but life caught up with me. But I'm so glad I know you and Jennifer, and I know what you are doing, because that's what we need. Bishop, you made sure we were straight on campus.
Yes.
Put your pants up, put on a suit and tie, comb your head, put you some smell good on, act like a man. And you didn't talk nice to us, nice. It wasn't, huggy. It was, hey, if I got to get in your face to get you right, I'm going to get in your face. And that's the kind of stuff that we need when we're looking for leaders in the community, people who are going to boldly step up to the issues that's affecting our communities.
Well, Dr. Davis, I have to add and say, in life, you are going to be tested for what you are in possession of, right? And there's two responses that only comes from the test. One is fight or flight. That's just how we are programmed. It doesn't give you any option, right? You either fight or you flee. And
yes, sir.
I refuse to run away from those I love, and I refuse to run away responsibility of leaders like you were afforded a great education. So I fought for it. Sometimes it had to come out a little way where it was very aggressive. But it's because that's how much I cared about you. That's how much I cared about people I love. And, there's another book, if anyone wants to read it, called Difficult Conversations. And what we have to understand is courageous conversations are difficult. If we're going to be courageous leaders, you have to have courageous conversations. And I live on being a truth teller, to tell people the truth, because the truth will set you free. Dr. Davis, I am so happy to see you. I'm so happy that you're doing such a wonderful job with this type of ministry, because your pulpit is different. Amen. A pulpit is just not a wooden stand and elevation according to the book of Ezra. It's what you offer people to pull them out their pit. So you have pulled some people out today, and keep preaching, brother. Keep delivering. Keep setting people free.
Yes, sir.
We have miles to go before we can sleep. Let's continue to do the work.
Yes, sir. Bishop, I want to ask you one last question. We got to highlight one last sponsor, but you said something. I've been on my Paul Mooney hitch for a couple of weeks now. I found him on Apple Music, and I've been like playing his stuff. And even for some black folk, Paul Mooney is too much. But he said something in his race album. He said there's only two kinds of black people in America. He said those who are running scared or those who are running free. How you running?
Oh man, that reminds me. That reminds me of this quick quote I'll give you. The truth is neither good nor bad. It's just the truth.
Yes, sir. It's just the truth. And you know what? And in this season, Bishop, I really would appreciate if we had more people who was willing to just give the truth. Yeah. Did COVID cut your life? Yeah. Did it mess up your social life? Yeah. Did it mess up church life? Yeah. Did pastors had to become overnight producers and IT specialists? Yeah. But look what we did, Bishop. We found a way to create ministry, and I'm just of this faith. Maybe God sent COVID to remind us of what was really important, to be concerned about your neighbor. Because if you're not concerned about your neighbor, you can infect your neighbor with COVID, or your neighbor can infect you with COVID. But the idea is that you have to be concerned about your neighbor.
Listen, you're hitting it right on the head. Let's look at what it did expose. It exposed excess. We had so much that we didn't know what to do with it. We had access to all the information in the world, all the people in the world, through social media and internet, but yet we didn't have each other. And I think what it has afforded us is an opportunity to reconnect to those things that matter. It was such a blessing to finally get a chance to get around my family when after it was weeks and maybe even months where we had to find ways to talk to each other because I was afraid, or my mother was afraid, my sister was afraid that we would infect each other. But that fear has entrapped us far too long, and so there's a need for us to come back to the table and see what's next, or build on our next. There's a story I'll end with if we're at the conclusion, but I don't mind talking to you, brother. Like I said, these conversations happen without the platform of social media. We do this on the phone all the time. But the story is about a grandfather who's talking to his grandson about life. And he says, grandson, do you know there is a fight within you? He said, what do you mean a fight? He said, there's two wolves that are fighting on the inside of you. They're battling against each other. He said, really, grandfather? He said, yeah. He said, well, who wins the fight? Which wolf wins the fight? He said, the one you feed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Whatever you feed will exist. Whatever you don't feed, it shall die. I'm praying that you're feeding your spirit, you're feeding your purpose, and you are starting to starve your fears, because there's so much greatness within all of us, but we need all of us to be all of us.
Yes, sir. Bishop, I got one last question. We're going to highlight one last sponsor. I'm going to ask this question. We're going to get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Conversation with Faith Leaders. I have with me Pastor Aaron Bishop, pastor of Grace Christian Church in Columbia, South Carolina. He's also the commissioner, chairman of the board, the school board for Richland County 1 in the great state of South Carolina. We'll be right back with just a word from our sponsor.
Recently, God opened the door for J.P. Moore Mortuary and Cremation Services to expand into the Madison, Florida area, allowing us to provide stellar yet affordable services to families in need, families who are looking to honor the life of their loved one in the customs and traditions of our cultural experience. J.P. Moore Mortuary and Cremation Services offers compassionate and courteous service with unmatched satisfaction and a professional staff that can serve your family in a difficult time with dignity. The top 11 reasons why families call J.P. Moore Mortuary and Cremation Services are that we offer funeral services, cremation services. We have an on-premise chapel. We have J.P. Silk Creations, our on-premise florist. We offer grief counseling. We have 24-hour on-call service, at-home arrangements, out-of-town services. We have digital casket display. We offer air flight shipping. And we have reasonable and competitive pricing with a complimentary notary public. Spreading sunshine at the sunset of life. J.P. Moore Mortuary and Cremation Services. The mortician who cares more.
And we're back. I have with me my friend, my brother, Pastor Aaron Bishop, and we're getting ready to conclude this conversation. Bishop, I've enjoyed this conversation, man. This has been a blessing to me. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with me today. I really appreciate it. I ask everybody this question: how do you define the term unholy silence?
I have to relate that to, in short answer, what my mother and I always shared as a coined phrase. Ignorance is a disability. And what that literally means is if you don't know, you don't know. If you don't know, it's because even in my research and study for my PhD about the public-private partnerships and the role of transformational leadership, what people want more is understanding. And if they're not getting it from the silence of the holy, you're going to find out that people will say this to you. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Because when you are quiet, when you are not speaking up and speaking out about the things that are impacting your community and your people, that's a problem that you will have to deal with, because if you sow that seed, you have to reap that harvest. I'm reminded of the quote, not the quote, but the reference, that the word silence has the same amount of words, or silent has the same amount of word as listen. When you listen to people and their concerns, as a leader, you must act to provide that reform. As a leader of a church, I listen to my people. And I just have to take a moment, Dr. Davis, to give a special shout out to what I believe is the greatest congregation that God could have ever given me at Grace Christian Church, because we literally believe teamwork makes the dream work. If we have to understand that there is a vision on the house, then we must have a responsibility in the shared vision that is in each one of our laps. And that speaks to your answer. When you understand unholy silence is that I refuse to remain silent at such a time as this. Who knows that have been called to the kingdom for such a time as this? It's Esther 4:14. Esther could not remain quiet. She had to go and be about the change and the change that she wanted to see.
Bishop, man, you have blessed me today. Man, you have been a blessing to me today. I can't thank you enough. I appreciate you, man, for taking time out of your schedule. Thank you. If I've never had a chance to say it, I want to say it publicly. Thank you for shaping my life. I got long memories riding in the Hummer, going to homecoming. Me hopping out at a stoplight to do the Alpha Train because one of my songs came on. Getting dressed up for the blue and gold gala. You, Tramika Michelle Thomas, Miss
Eva Wilson.
Eva Wilson. Woo! Woo! Man, something just ran through me. Woo! Miss Eva Wilson. I mean, you talking about
Ovita Glover.
Ovita Glover, Coppin Hall. Listen, man, y'all just don't know the beatdowns we got from this crew of people. I mean, play around with your education, play around with your life, and Tamika Michelle Thomas, Eva Wilson, Aaron Bishop, Ovita Glover. I mean, the president, Dr. Charles E. from Young. These people came down on you because they saw something in you and they didn't play games with you. They invested in you. They took time to show you. Man, my mind, Miss Foster, financial aid.
Yes,
Donna Foster, mama. That I call her mama. If I ain't have no money, she was like, bring your butt to my office. Don't wait till the last minute. She said, there's always some money around here somewhere. And, you know, she was like, you know, come through. I got all my books. Never missed the books. What my dad didn't buy my freshman year, Donna Foster made sure I had my books. Man, I can't thank you enough. When you left us, we all was hurt. Solomon Prince is on, listening right now. Sheena is listening to us right now. I mean, man, what a blessing it was to be at Allen University.
Yes.
And to have experienced you as a human being, as a person. I'm a Mason because of your influence. You and Cassius Rojas and his father, Mr. Gilberto Rojas. Bishop and our lodges meet in the same building.
That's right.
I don't do Balboa Road. You know, when I was raised, you know, Bishop was there. Yes, sir. Omega Psi Phi. You know,
That's Prince
just
Hall right there. That's Prince Hall right there.
that's Prince Hall on the side. and Omega Psi Phi. Dr. Cosby, always making sure. Now, we ain't no Q dogs. Omega Men. That's what he wanted. Omega Men. And Bishop, you told us, like, hey, act like an alpha. You an alpha, ain't you? Act like an alpha man. Bishop, I can't thank you.
Man,
I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. And I would tell you, two of the greatest words ever put together in the English language is thank you. Thank
Yes, sir.
you. So I appreciate you, brother. Man, keep pressing on. Make sure you take a hold of that plow and don't look back, and keep pressing forward, bro. We need more tillers in the ground. You know, two quotes from the scripture I always love to share with people that are very connected. You heard it. They said the harvest is plentiful.
Yes, sir.
The next verse over says, but I have prayed to the Lord of the harvest. And then if you go back to Genesis, the 2nd chapter, the 7th verse, God didn't allow anything to grow because there was no man to till the ground. Continue to till the ground, brother, so more people can grow.
Yes, sir. Bishop, again, man, thank you so very much.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a blessing. It's always a great opportunity to be able to be with amazing people like Pastor Bishop, who has invested in my life and who has helped to make me the person I am today. So glad he took time out of his schedule. As always, I would like to share with you a thought in an article that I have written for the North Carolina Black Alliance, which is an agency that I work for in Raleigh, North Carolina. The faith engagement team provides these scholarly articles to encourage lay and clergy leaders to be active in voter education and getting the vote out. As North Carolina prepares for the next round of elections, I implore every pastor, clergy leader, layperson, and community activist to do all they can while they can to ensure truth concerning the urgency of change is not ignored by our people. We must steadfastly educate, inform, and lead by example as we stem the tide of political and social change in this state. Don't settle for the convenience of a lie. The truth will do every time. Voting isn't an unnecessary byproduct of human civility. It is a humane calling of epic social proportions that requires the attention of those who seek to embrace its pervasive powers of democratic change. My name is Brandon A.J. Davis, founder of Content Writing Service and Conversation with Faith Leaders, and we look forward to being here next Sunday with my good friend, Jamarian P. Moore, the founder of J.P. Moore Mortuary in Madison, Florida. We're going to talk with a young man who is not even 30 years old, who has started his own business and who is providing a meaningful service for people in the midst of a global pandemic. I invite you to tune in. We're going to have another great conversation. We're going to talk about some important things, and we're going to have a good time. He's a good friend of mine, and it's going to be a laughing time. So please tune in. Listen, as always, stay safe. Wear your mask. If you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated, and I'll see you next time. God bless.